I'm joined here today with Garry Robinson, a very brave, courageous Afghan veteran who has become synonymous with Invictus. This will be his third Invictus Games. Acting Assistant Commissioner Tony Cooke from New South Wales Police, and James Brown, the RSL President. New South Wales tomorrow will pause. It will pause to reflect the sacrifice and service of 102,000 soldiers, sailors and airmen who have given their lives over the course of the century to ensure that we have the freedoms that we enjoy today. It will pause to commemorate the role that the people of New South Wales gave in those times of war. It will march to ensure that those that are living, both injured and able-bodied, will continue the legacy of those that we've inherited from the ANZAC cause. And of course we'll celebrate. We'll celebrate the courage of Garry, we'll celebrate the conviction of others that have served, and we'll celebrate the valour that is synonymous with the ANZAC story. Unfortunately, the day will also have some sad memories. There are still plenty of war widows from the Second World War and more recent conflicts that may not have the notion of celebration or commemoration that we have today, and we need to respect that. It will be a day when people will come together to talk about better times, and it will be a day for us to reflect on the fact that we still have people in our community that want to do us harm. And we have seen that obviously as recently as this morning with our compatriots in Canada. I'm delighted at the preparations that we've had for this year's ANZAC, the centenary, the final year of the centenary of ANZAC. I want to pay tribute to James Brown in his first year as the New South Wales RSL President for the work that he's done to ensure that this ANZAC Day will continue in the great traditions of past. I want to appeal to people to still come into the city if that's their plan, but also consider that there are regional events that will be just as ceremonial. I want to, as James will no doubt say, I want to encourage people to buy a poppy from the RSL, remembering of course that this year's sales will not go to the RSL. The RSL thought that would be inappropriate given the reforms that are going on. The sales from this year's ANZAC Day will go to the work that Garry's doing with the Invictus Games. And I want everybody to remember that. This year's Invictus Games will be a wonderful way for us to continue the Invictus tradition, but also for us as a state to conclude the work of Prince Harry and certainly those soldiers, sailors and airmen that are continuing with the tradition. I might ask Tony to say a few words to talk about the logistics of the day, and then we'll invite James to say a few words, and then all four of us will be available for questions. Tony?
Yes, Operation Broadside will be the policing response conducted across the footprint of ANZAC Day commemorations today. It will comprise police conducting a range of duties to ensure that we can provide a safe and secure environment to allow our servicemen and women and those attending the marches to commemorate the day and support them and the work that they've done for us over many years. So this is about us providing a safe and secure environment for people to come and enjoy the day's activities. The Minister referred to the activities overnight in Canada, and that's a salient reminder to us of what can occur, and I'm very confident that we'll have in place a range of strategies to mitigate against that type of activity and ensure that we provide a safe environment for both our servicemen and women and those attending to commemorate the day to enjoy the day. I would also say that it is a day to commemorate. It is not a day that we will tolerate any antisocial behaviour, and I would ask that people, as is generally the case, to enjoy the commemorations in a fitting style, not to go over the top. Yeah, enjoy a drink and enjoy each other's company, but to do so in appropriate style to support our servicemen. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow we'll be doing what we've done for 102 years since soldiers who returned from Gallipoli first marched down to the Domain to come together and remember their fallen colleagues. Across New South Wales, from the beaches to the bush, there will be hundreds of RSL sub-branches putting together marches and ceremonies, and behind each one of those ceremonies and marches there will be an RSL team that has put it together. We look forward to gathering with our communities tomorrow to mark the service and sacrifice of the men and women of the Australian Defence Force and their families. Here in New South Wales, I'm particularly proud that our members are leading an effort to bring the veterans' family even closer together. Last week we announced our partnership with the Invictus Games. Tomorrow you'll see more than 100 RSL sub-branches across the state raising money on behalf of Invictus for the wounded, injured and ill veterans who will gather here in October this year for what will be a truly uplifting event, an event that shows that men and women who've been scarred by war, who've been through adversity, who've faced mortal danger, can remain unconquered in their efforts and can really give back to the community and serve, and that's what it's all about. That's what Invictus is about. That's what the Veterans Family community is about. So let me, ahead of tomorrow, thank you for the time you're taking out of your busy lives to pause, to reflect on the military. To those who have lost someone, who have lost someone close to them, who will be remembering an individual tomorrow, I wish you the very best of courage in your remembrance tomorrow. And remember that ANZAC Day is about the service and sacrifice of the Australian Defence Force, many of whom are deployed around the globe, and tomorrow will be putting themselves in harm's way on our behalf.
Minister, can you say what locations will both new and usual vehicle blockers be placed, and how will this year's dawn serve security different to last year's?
I'll leave the location of the blockers to the police. It's probably not something that we would necessarily disclose in the public domain. But as I said on Sunday, and I'll repeat today, we have no increase in the likelihood. There is no specific threat, but we are at probable in relation to the risks right around Australia. And for that reason, the government will take every reasonable steps to mitigate against the risk of a low-level attack particularly. So the blockers will be located across the route. They'll be located in other areas, what we would identify as vital asset protection, to ensure that other parts of the city are also safe and secure. On top of that, they'll be complemented by uniformed police, plainclothes police, bag searches, CCTV, so you can get the picture that I'm comfortable that we have done everything that we possibly can. No city is 100% safe, and we're very conscious of that. Our job as a government, and I have to pay tribute to not only our Premier and Cabinet in the City of Sydney, but particularly the New South Wales Police Force, who are first class when it comes to reducing the risk of our community against those who want to do us harm.
Are you worried that Toronto will need crowds to
I think that any incident around the world causes anxiety, and that's just a statement of fact. Of course it will cause anxiety, but I know Australians are resilient enough and are confident enough, and quite frankly, we're brave enough to put our face up whenever there is a risk of harm. And my appeal to the community is that we are well prepared. Don't change your lifestyle, don't change your schedule because of the risk of terrorism. You come ahead and you come into the city if you wanted to, and you think about 100 years of sacrifice.
Given the increased security measures, what will that add to logistics of people getting into the city, getting into the market?
Well, we've got a fantastic reputation for public transport on ANZAC Day in this state. It's always been a day that things have gone well. I will repeat the Premier and the Transport Minister's message to consider public transport. Of course, there will be blockers, there will be police in the CBD, which means that private vehicles will be slow, and people expect that. And I'm delighted that. I think ANZAC Day in 2018 is very, very special because it is the final year of our centenary. When you consider that 30 years ago, in the 1970s and 1980s, you look at the footage of the ANZAC Day march, there were long gaps in the crowds, but the last couple of years, there have always been 2 or 3 deep. So I think ANZAC Day continues to be the most sacred day on the Australian calendar. I think it's a day that we celebrate our past and our present. As James Brown said, while we're commemorating the courage and valour of our military personnel, let's not forget there'll be thousands of them still on deployment. And I look forward to seeing the footage from around the world where Australian soldiers on operations will pause to reflect their comrades that have fallen before them. So for me it's a special day because obviously I think about those that I've served with, and I'll be certainly attending one or two of those reunions. But I think we wouldn't have ANZAC Day if it wasn't for the people of Australia that have always supported our military in ways that is unique from around the world.
Minister, an urgent grant of $180,000 was provided for additional security measures for tomorrow's march. Can you elaborate on what exactly that money is going towards?
Well, those monies came from not just the New South Wales government. I pay tribute to the City of Sydney, who readily offered support, and of course the RSL, who have made a contribution. So that money is going towards mitigating the state, certainly the city, against the risks that may occur.
Can you say what it is exactly?
Well, that last minute call is reflective of the fact that we have a robust and flexible approach to mitigating the city against any risk. That was a decision that we made recently, and it ensured that we mitigate the city and keep the crowd safe. I mean, we would be a very inefficient government, and the police and other agencies would be very inefficient if they didn't, right up until the day of an event, continue to review the security.
Are we going towards call-outs, putting in place extra police on the streets or extra security measures? Can you talk us through exactly?
I'll let Assistant Commissioner Cooke talk about that, but we're not in the business of talking about operational security.
Are any changes being put in place that will make?
We'll be reviewing with the federal agencies and the state agencies about any follow-on, any effect in New South Wales. But the advice that I've got so far is that there is not any reason for the people of New South Wales or the state of New South Wales to be concerned about the incident overnight in Toronto. And I'm advised from DFAT that no Australians have been involved in that incident.
Is the terror threat still safe?
Our terrorist threat in New South Wales, indeed right around the country, is still the problem.
Yes.
Obviously, you can't go into specifics of operational matters, but generally speaking, we're going to see extra police on air force tomorrow. Will there be extra vehicles, roadblock police, etc.?
We'll apply the amount of resourcing that we believe is required in the circumstances. Of course, following on events from overnight, we will continue to review, and planning is always an ongoing process right up to and through the course of events. But can I just echo the comments of the Minister that the threat level remains improbable, and there is no information that I have specific to any threat to ANZAC Day. But what it does remind us of is the need for everybody to be vigilant and to remain vigilant. There will be sufficient police around to ensure that we have a safe and secure event, but those participating and watching and supporting our servicemen and women, they need to understand too that if they see something, say something, remain vigilant and report matters to police.
Since the vehicle buckets are obviously going to be on the roads public side anyway tomorrow, can you just give us an example of some of those high value security assets that will be used?
Look, I won't talk about operational strategies. Suffice it to say there's been some commentary in the media that there certainly are a strategy which is being employed for the event, and I'm just letting it know.
And
So
how,
will this still mean though that will it be the added security
In a practical sense, there may be some delays, they won't be significant, but as we always say to people, plan your trip, leave early, leave yourself plenty of time to ensure that you can get here, be on time and be in a position to support our servicemen and women to commemorate this most important ANZAC Day, as we've referred to, the centenary of ANZAC.
how are police planning on stopping non-service disruptors like Joseph McCowan who called on people to follow his lead in protest tomorrow? And is this a concern of police?
What we'll do is have a range of strategies in place right across the footprint, right through the event, and we will manage those issues as they may arise.
Some veterans initially said that they might not have taken that day after taxing the pool and then reinstated.
cycling